So this makes your app, better. And you don't, if you have a complex code and you have written in a very good architecture, that will make your app less complex. There are various architectures in the market, MVV, MVVM, and Viper and all, but choose which suits your use case. Like you have very, let's say you have very static pages and all, so MVC is to go for that. Okay, I am hoping you will be knowing like what is MVC, MVVM. You can also Google also later also. It's very easy, different architects are there. Okay, personally, I love MVVM, okay, which is model view model and view. So I like it because it's scalable and don't have to. My complex code is also written in a very simpler way, so that it is easy to understand for me and for whatever the next person comes, or my peer developers come. So you not only have to think about you have to think here whatever code you are writing for 2 years, 4 years down the lane, somebody else will be reading that. So how you choose the architecture, okay, you write in certain way so that the other person also understands, and quickly easy to get hold on to what you have developed. Cool. Okay. Then before jumping into coding, right? Like I think I'm might be wrong, but can be right also. Uh, Whenever we think like we this feature or something, we straightly jump into coding. We start in the implementation. We open that and start that. But that's not the right case. Firstly, you have to drill down the use cases of your feature or of your whole app. You have to write down on a pen paper, or there are a lot of applications we could see the what kind, you can write what kind of use cases your app will have or a flow will have, and make flow diagrams for that. That will help you understand the all the use cases of your app, and then you'll be able to write code better. Okay, it's not like you start coding and you see, yeah, this use case I missed, then again you do the development. So that's a lot of repetition. That is not an ideal way to do the development. Okay, so for example, if you see, this is a flow diagram, simple like this is for a sign up flow. Okay, so where is app is launched, there is a our home page. From home page, if the user clicks on login, okay, then we say, okay, you doesn't have any account, you we show a sign up page. Okay, after that confirmation, sign up is confirmed, then again we ask user to log in. Correct. And if you build this one, everything will be we think it is right and everything's done. So can anyone tell like what's missing and what use case is missing here in the sign up flow?
Already registered.
Already register will be
So
logging into landing page, but yeah,
I think it's more about password reset and stuff.
correct. Yeah, yes. So this use case is not there, right? So generally what we'll do is like when we build this flow, and later on think realize here we have not done any forget password, and then again we'll start the run. But if we capture all the use cases here, where forget password flow is already there, so you'll build in certain way. Let's say there can be a reusable components, so you can build, structure your code better if you drill down all the flow diagrams and use cases of your app. Cool. Any doubts here?
Nope.
Yeah, cool. Moving on. Okay. So, we as engineers, right? We try to make everything as a tech heavy. Okay. So we see like we will what we understand. It is certainly not the same for our end users also. Okay. So try to make your UI as as less complex as possible. Okay, because the end user may not be as seeing what are you seeing. Let's say I'll just take this simple example. Okay, so let's say this is uh, two restaurant information of two different apps. Okay, if you see in the left side, a lot of information is cluttered in one place. Your rating, title and all these things, right? Offers. So if let's say I have a non-tech from non-tech background, or a simple my parents or someone is using the app, right? So it is very difficult to see ki, like what each field is. So it will take some time. Obviously, it will be able to understand, but it will take some time. What is that? What is it? So your time increases on this to read and make something out of it. But if in the see in the right side, okay, which is a Swiggy screenshot by the way, Swiggy new design which we are working on. Okay, so there you can see ki, like everything is decluttered and you can easily read each field, and very easy to understand what each field or what each text represents. So try to do this exercise in your app continuously so that app is the UI is non-complex. Any doubts here?
So one thing, isn't this UI part of a designer, like a dedicated UX person?
Yes. So see, if you are a good developer, right, when you are there, you can also give, there is a to and fro relationship with UX and product also. Okay. So sometimes it can be in some organization there can be a dedicated UX designer. Okay, but you can constantly give feedbacks also on to him, like this is not able to understand, because UX person can also be from tech background, and he also, so somebody must have built the left side also, right? Correct.
Yep.
So
Yep.
but this you should also understand like what is best for the end user. Okay, it's not necessarily you have to build the design, but you can give feedbacks also if there's UX one. For example, there is a feature which you feel keen. I'll just give an example. Like uh, there is a thing where product comes, like I require background location from the end user. Okay, which is the location all the times I need to provide. Okay, like Ola or Uber does, right? But if we do it for let's say our Swiggy use case or any other issue, that is not correct. We don't want to just keep getting users location, correct? As a developer and as a good developer, you will understand this and you can explain to the product, right? That is not correct because end user won't like giving its location, right, all the time.
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sir. So I had a doubt. Like, I have been working on Android development, but I didn't try my hands much on iOS side. So,
Hmm.
according to you, building a non-complex UI is simpler in which scenarios, on the iOS side or on the Android side, or shall we prefer the hybrid technologies coming into the market?
uh, okay, uh, firstly I'll tell you ki both so when we work, right, both I think ki both platforms, Android, iOS, native, takes similar time only to build any component. Okay, there can be some things maybe in iOS and maybe in Android, like some advantages and disadvantages to build the complex UIs and simpler UIs. But overall, as compared to time, we'll say ki, like it is similar only. So that even if it is a complex UI or anything, there will be time will be same. And coming to your second question, which is to go for hybrid or go for native, that depends upon again your use case and business calls. Let's say you have, so I'll tell you, okay, like what I feel is the best thing, but everyone has their own reasons to do. So if you have, let's say, a static page, right, or you have an experimental page, okay, which gets changed every time, right? One is frequently changed. Okay, experimental. So if we do it in Android as native, we have to again make app again do the development, make an app release. So that app release cycle takes time, right? And obviously we are doing in both platforms. So it is just, if it is a temporary experimental thing, then we can go for that hybrid component, but not all app hybrid.
Okay, okay. I got it.
And also for, let's say, for business perspective, it is how you want to give, what UX you want to give to the customer. Okay. For example, if obviously for sure, if you are using native Android and native iOS, right, the experience is far much better than using hybrid apps, right? If you see Amazon, right, so your app experience is not that good.
Vikas Gupta, can you please mute yourself? Vikas Gupta.
Yeah, muted.
Yeah, muted.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm saying like, yeah, when you're building native apps, your experience is great. So if you want to, give that good experience to you should go for the native one. But if you are okay with, like not focusing on much of the experience or flows and transitions, then you can make hybrid apps. So it is cost saving. Again, that business use case is different, and your as a developer, your use case can be different to take that decision. I hope this answers your question, right?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Moving. So I see a lot of time, the developers, okay, don't do these kind of things. Okay, they'll just build the happy cases, okay, and then give the build give to release or to QA. And a lot of time this feedback comes like you have not handled, the edge cases or the error cases or crashes. So crashes is P0. If you want to have, you think here your feature is successful or your app is successful, you should have zero crashes, okay, or very minimal crashes. So crashes is straight. So these all are like straight no only. Like we should not have that. We should gracefully handle, crashes. Now in Swift Kotlin, we get that like very easily we can handle, gracefully handle the empty objects and all these things in our code base, right? So you should take care of that, whenever there is optionals, let's say there are optional or empty things, it should not lead to crash. Okay. Second is network error. So don't think I am saying like people build feature and don't handle when user is offline. Okay, there can be a case user's internet goes away or user goes to a basement or something like that. His network won't be stable. So we should test that scenario how your app or feature is working in the lower network or whenever there is zero network. Right. So you should appropriately show, let's say error page where his internet is off. You can mention, seems like we can get the callbacks of, internet is off. So you can tell them, your internet is off, do this, or you can show their error pages. Show something to the user, like why the app is slow or something like that. Then again, the server error. If down, right, you can get a 500 from your API or anything you can get from server error. So you should samely handle that and show appropriate messages to the user. Okay. The fourth is also a good, very good edge case. Okay. Lot of time there can be thing even though we see like server will give us some data, right? And API endpoint will give data. There can be a case where they can send empty data also. So this was a use case in Swiggy where we just were having an array of objects coming, and we were assuming like they will come every time and will show, and we didn't handle when there is an empty array. So what will happen if we are empty array, we are trying to load, nothing will happen, so whole page will be blank. Okay, so think of these cases in each of your pages, right? Like if let's say if it is server driven, obviously, but so if it is empty data only, you should handle that case also. Then obviously the last is, I think, self-explanatory. Wrong input, user can enter wrong inputs sometimes, right? So you should handle that cases as well. Okay. Your happy case is as important as your error handlings. Any doubts in error handling?
Yeah, so I have a doubt. So, like, I am essentially a web developer, and we use something like Sentry to track development and production bugs. So, is there something similar for Android and stuff?
So for crashes, there are different tools. There is Firebase, there is New Relics to crash to track the crashes. Okay, you can even add breadcrumbs on that, so you can see how what was the previous flow before the app crashed. So you can monitor that. Every organization will have either Firebase or New Relic to track crashes. So that is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good point. I wanted to add that also. Okay, even after handling in your code, you should add data points also into that. You can measure that issues.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say
Like,
your network, let's say your server errors happen, right? And when your app is very big, right, like a lot of users in lakhs or billions of people are using, you won't be able to know like what user is having. So you have to put analytics on that. Okay, what I mean by analytics is you should log these errors on some some dashboard. Their tools come, third-party tools come.
yeah.
So you can have it goes for it. It is across. So logging is across the platforms. It can be web, Android, iOS. So you should log these kind of errors so you can get appropriate alerts on it. Let's say your threshold is there, like I that endpoint or something will page will be expected this much errors. But if this goes beyond our threshold, we can quickly check that and resolve that issue.
So, what my question was, like, another follow up. So, like in web, we use Sentry. So, it essentially web is almost always connected to internet. So that's how web functions. So we
Hmm.
can send error reports back to the server and track analytics using maybe Segment and Sentry. But in some of our Android applications, because they are native to the Android and they can be used offline. So how can we send back tracking stuff, and how is that managed?
Hmm. Good. Good question, man. So basically, when there are again, it depends upon what tool are using. If you are using so natively, right, you can do your optimization as well as caching on your side of the events. So let's say I'll tell an example. There is a third party tool, CleverTag, through which we log some hour for our marketing events. Okay, so there is a retry mechanism in the SDK itself. Okay, so it'll check whether the internet is off. It will monitor that and it'll cache all the events on the app side. Okay, all the error or all the logging events on their side. So whenever the internet comes back, they will batch all these events and fire away. Does this answer your question?
Yes, many thanks.
Yeah, cool. Uh, Moving on then next. Okay. So as a good developer, you should always focus on giving the best user experience to the user. As Abhinav said, there is a dedicated designer or UX person which works on that. His job is to do, but as you are also an owner of your app, right? So you should also focus on that, giving the best experience to the user. Your transitions, your animations should be as smooth as possible. Okay, as I mentioned, you should take as little as permissions from the user. Just for the sake of thing, you should not take permissions from the user. Let's say location permission is there, right? Or background fetch or anything other permissions can be there. So you should not all think like with as less as possible permissions, I can give best experience to the user. Okay, and there are other small things also you can do in your app to give a better experience. So let's say I'll just give you an example, right? So if you see in lot of time in your app or in one page, there is a right, or there is a search button like that, right? So the icons of that are very small. Okay, let's say 2020. So for the end user to able to there can be a chance where he's not is tapping correctly on somewhere. Okay, if I show you, right? So let's say this search icon is there, right? So it is, if you see, it is very small. So there can be a chance when it is in the app, user is not able to tap on the exact area. So one tweak you can do is you can increase the tappable area or touch area of your view. And even if you let's say like you can give 20 pixels on all the four sides, increase the tappable area. So even if the user is not able to tap on exact area, your same action can be performed here. So this is to must. This should do for all your small buttons. Search, cross, share. There is a share button also, because the icons are all small, right? Share and all these buttons. So you should increase your tappable area in that case. And this is very easy to do, just to tell you, in both platforms. Just do one two line code, you can easily increase your tappable areas. So for user, the button will be only this much, but even if he clicks on button will be only for this much, but if he increases taps on here also, your button action will be performed. Cool. And another point add on to giving a focus on UX is app into performance. Okay, so so one thing is to build your features. Every feature is working fine. Whatever you're doing is working fine. But that is business kind of features, right, or business implementations like that. But what makes your app great and stands out from the rest is your performance also. Again, this is also for the end user also. Let's say, what is your app launch time? So if your app launch is quicker than other apps, that stands out. And even Play Store and Google, Play Store and App Store recognizes if your app launch times and your screen load times is very significantly less as compared to your peer apps or other apps. So you should again you should focus on these metrics, like what is your app launch time and how it is coming as compared to other apps. Your first screen load time is when you first time after killing the app come back, how much time it is taking for your app to be interactive. Okay, then again inside your app you are going from one page to another and how much time that page is taking load. So there can be an API call, image rendering on all these things, how much time that takes place. So if it is less, then it qualifies as a good app.
Yeah, so one more similar question, because actually I am a web developer and I have some hard time understanding all this stuff. So because as in web development, what the ranking thing does is we have web crawlers that essentially calculate the first paint and all the metrics, right? Uh, but is this thing similar in Android and phone development? Like, is it
So
automated?
think you are a web developer, right? So I'll guarantee you most of the things will be in same mindset will be there for web development also,
Yeah.
right? Let's say I hit what you have built a web page, right? And I hit that, right? If it is a static one, then it will be immediately loading, right? If it is a dynamic one, right? You are getting some data and you are doing some calculations, there will be some time to render that page, right? Right. And this will take time. So what things we can do to optimize that? Okay. For example, there are a lot of images also in your web page. And then also, okay. So it will take some time to load, right? Based on users internet also. So what kind of best caching we can do of it? Let's say just an example, like image caching, which we can do to load the page faster, right?
Yeah, so what I was asking is like Google ranks the pages itself, but like we have to submit the app for review in Play Store. So how does Play Store checks the timing essentially? How does it measures the efficiency? Is it
So
automated or they need to check it
yeah,
manually because yeah.
it is all automated by the Play Store. So there's a dashboards which Play Store gives, so you can check that. Even you can check what is your they will also give another metrics, what is the median of your peers, like similar apps. Let's say your is a marketplace or a shopping app, right? So it will give your startup times, okay, and then can tell you like how it is more or less as compared to the similar apps. Okay, that is one which Play Store automatically provides. Okay, you can also log these kind of events. There again, tools come which you can log these events and you can monitor that, and then can do some optimizations, and you can see the difference on that. Okay, the next slide will give you more clearer thing of how. I'll give you a use case also how we improved our first screen time. Okay,
Sir, one
so
doubt.
yeah,
So how can we optimize app launch time? Means on what factor it depends?
so it depends upon a lot of things, right? Like first is key, like how many SDKs or third party things you are loading. Okay, what calculations are you are doing on your app on launch. Okay, or let's say ki, are you doing any blocking things? When I say blocking, which is are you doing any synchronous tasks in the app launch, which will take a lot of time. Okay. So ideally, whenever user launches app, right, you should do everything asynchronously and let the user go from one page to another. You should not block the user. I'll give you an example. Okay, so basically this is also kind of improving app performance also by doing app side caching. So we should always think of doing caching at however possible. Okay, in different way. Let's say one is straightforward, right? We have image caching is simple. That is compulsory for your when you have a very rich UI, like lot of images and lot of media you have. So you will go for image caching. So that will increase your rendering, improve your rendering time. Correct. So they can other things also, little things you can do in the app caching. You can do API response caching also from your side if you think it won't get changed that much. Okay. So I'll give a use case of Swiggy where we implemented some kind of caching mechanism, prefetching mechanism, and improved our app first screen load time. Okay, so how the flow works is basically when in Swiggy you click on the Swiggy, right? I am hoping you have seen Swiggy. So this is generic for all, right? When you click on any app, right, there is a splash screen for that which is there, and after that, if we want, the app asks for permission, and after that it lands to its home page, which is their first page, each app first page, and then each first whenever user lands on that first page, will make an API call. Okay, and then when the API will give us the results, we render it. Correct. This is a common use case for all the apps. Like when user lands on homepage, they'll call the API and then get the response. Okay. So what issue here is like when user is landed, right? So user has to wait for that API call to happen, get loaded, and data gets rendered. Okay. But what if we can do some kind of caching or prefetching in our app? Okay, so what we did was like when app is launched, okay, we show a screen into user, okay, where we are fetching user's location, okay, GPS location. So what we do is whenever user's GPS is fetched, we get the lag log of the user, we immediately call our API, okay, in the background. Okay, and meanwhile user is moving from splash screen to the first home page. Okay, so in parallel your APIs get called, so we pass that. So till the time user reaches his first page, we already have the data and the user data will be loaded. One second. I can't move it down. Are you able to see the data at the end?
Yeah.
So you understand, right? What we did, like what we did, we prefetched the API when the moment we got the lat long, and this all we did in background. And till the time user reaches in the homepage, we will have the data and we'll just render that. So if you see, like based on the old logic, our rendering times were like 836 6 ms or in 4G in different uh, Wi-Fi 4G, 3G, and 2Gs, right? So even in 2G, it is taking 4 seconds, and if in Wi-Fi, it is still taking near about 1 second, right, for user to see the data. Right? But with this new logic, you will see the improvement in immediately in ms, right, milliseconds. User will be able to see the data, so user doesn't have to wait for that data to load. So this makes our app better. This is the better UX. Okay. So for user, you don't have to do any wait time. So this is how you can differentiate your app. Any doubts in this one? This use case?
Yes, I had a doubt. Like
Yeah.
we have different image formats. We use WebP sometimes. We use PNG. We use JPEG sometimes. So do these different formats of images also affect the render time? And which would be the ideal images to use,
Uh,
formats to use?
so yes. So images also different images also have their own sizes, download times. Okay. So we also tried different images. Okay. So what I feel is like so basically JPEGs and all, it also depends upon our server also, where your images are there and how, what transformation and calculations, how fast that server is and what images they are doing. Okay, let's say we are using Cloudinary. Okay, and based on different metrics, we came to a conclusion that WebP is a lot faster because that is small in size. Okay, so it gets downloaded faster as compared to others images. Okay, but even if you can use progressive JPEGs also, let's say you have seen Instagram, right? So firstly, because that is a very UI heavy or rich UI heavy app, right? So they want to have quick view of the images or the videos or the stories, right? So the progressive JPEGs will come into picture there. Like you will first see one, quickly see one iteration of that image, and that image keeps on loading and loading again till you get a better quality image, right? But if that also can, if we have slower internet also, right, then also progressive JPEGs can help. But if internet is good enough, then WebP works the best. uh, does this answer your question?
Yes, yes. Hello. Yes, it
Yeah,
does.
cool. So moving on, so auto layout. So auto layout is something, it's a terminology in iOS, but it is equally same for web, mobile, web also, Android iOS. Okay. So basically, whenever you are building the UI, make it lightweight so that it is with different orientations and different devices, right? It doesn't break. Okay, it more or less in same ratio and same manner only. Okay, so this also makes your app scalable and works. Let's say like whatever I'm building, let's say in mobile, right? Tomorrow I'll open a pad, right? If I run the app, it should not break in there. Your UI should not break. So you should build it way like that. So example of that is, let's say like this is a view which I made it center aligned by giving constraint like 207 from left and 448 from top. And if I just change the orientation, you see like if this constraint, so your my view goes out of my viewport, right? So again, this leads to back. You while developing, right, you will have only few devices or few things. You won't be able to test in all platforms altogether, right? For every feature or everything, you won't be testing in all time of permutation combination of your devices or orientations. So you should have that practice or build that way only, like from start only, like it will automatically adjust according to orientations and devices. So with this one, so if we give the views constraints as center X and center Y, and the width of this is half the width of our whole screen. So if you change orientation, it will automatically, your view will automatically adjust. So even if this is goes to iPad also, my view would be like similar only. It won't break. So this is one use case, but a lot of use case comes in this way. But everything should be auto layout, relative layout, if I can say. That is also. You should make this habit only, like build. Don't have hard code constraints. Have a relative constraints, a relative layouts to your views. Let's say again have web, right? So if I go from web to mobile web, right? And web. So how the UI should automatically adjust so that it should not break. Cool. Any questions here? Cool. Moving on to the next one is using third-party libraries. So I always encourage to use third-party libraries, authentic and a large company, bigger third-party libraries to implement. If we try to do everything by ourselves, right, which is already implemented in a better way in open source, right, then no need to do that. That is a wastage. You have to do a lot of maintenance. If but let's say like there is a network layer, Fire is there, right, which helps you do an API calls and all these things to the server. So if we try to build that, right, we have to maintain that code and based on future use cases, do changes on it. So that is a lot of overhead on us. So we can simply use that library, okay, implement and code and do a faster development. All these are, pre-tested codes are there. There will be regular releases of the third-party libraries. Let's say that I have to do caching of an image, right? I know the logic, right? I can do my own also, but there are a lot of better image caching libraries already present in the open source. So I should use that because they will be focusing on that only, and I can focus on my work, other things, because that part is already taken care of by the libraries. If you want, you are curious how it works, so you can go ahead and read that code and understand that. But doing the same thing which is already done by someone else, I feel it's a wastage of our own resources also. Cool. Uh, Moving on. So last 2 points are kind of you know it's more about when you move to organization. This part is also related to when you do development on your own testing, but more or less is a part of when you move to an organization where is a structured way you should do code testing. So anyways, whenever you build a code, right, you should do a proper testing on that. So first is when you are doing this image is self-explanatory, but can you like when you are doing code, you should write unit tests of that, and you see that everything is working. Then your build goes to QA, right? So it's an on then you do end-to-end testing and UI testing, and after that it goes to production. So this life cycle goes from your code to customer. It should not be just wrote the code and bundled and shipped to Play Store, App Store. There's a proper flow how it should go. So first, let's say I'm an organization where there are 10 developers, right, or 5 developers, right? So I am build one feature, okay, and my colleague or some my peer has also built the feature. So there can be things, can be overlapping things, or I have done something which is breaking theirs, and they have done something which might break, right? So even if we do feature testing or on own feature, right, it won't make sure, it is not guaranteed that when all the code is combined, it will not break anything. Okay, so what you should after unit feature testing or unit testing your own code, when everything gets merged, then you do an end-to-end testing also on top of it and before releasing to the customer. A best app is which doesn't require any doesn't have any frequent releases, right? So that smart. If you don't have any crashes, your flows are not breaking when you are releasing. That is, that is the most optimal thing you can do. Okay, and next is also a must thing when we go to an organization, which is CI/CD pipeline, which is continuous integration and continuous development. So what it means is like whenever you are a lot of things you don't need to do by yourself. A lot of things you can automate also on your work. So let's say whenever you have done code development, right, you can do unit testing on your simply, right? And whenever you are raising a pull request, so they can be automated jobs for you, which runs the end-to-end tests for your whole app. Okay, and if something breaks, it can give you indications, right? Okay, your test case is failing or this issue is coming. Your code is not building correctly, so it will give you feedbacks and you can fix that and again send and before merging. So these checks are there. So what we do in Swiggy is like for every pull request you generate on GitHub, we'll run unit tests on that. Okay, and if it fails, the code won't be merged. So first the developer has to fix their test cases, and when the test cases are fixed, only then the code gets merged. This is the one layer of protection on that. Okay, this is one part of CI/CD pipeline. Second is like when you have done your code, right, and everything is merged. Now you have to bundle that code and send to Play Store and or App Store for submissions. Right? No need to do everything manually, right? You can build scripts on that is very easily, where that is taken care by the script. So they will build your code. Okay, again can run test cases also on that, and then can upload your builds to your App Store or Play Store, and then you can go for submission from there. So try to automate lot of things there which can be done, which will reduce your time into doing this, and you can focus on more on your actual work in the development part.
Hello.
Yeah.
So I had a small doubt, like I haven't yet used CI/CD pipeline or anything, but the general process that we have, if we are contributing in any, or let's say open source repositories, we generate pull requests and then we wait for the reviewers to review our code and then merge it.
Hmm.
So does the CI/CD pipeline minimize the time taken for the review process somehow, or do we still need the humans to directly look into the code?
So it it reduces the time, like obviously, right? So basically, it depends upon what checks they have put, right? Uh, Wherever you're contributing on open source. Let's say, yeah, I'll give you example. What we do is, let's say whenever a pull request is generated, right? So we'll first, there is a tool called Danger. You can check it after the call also, Danger. So what it does is it reviews the PR. Okay, and if it says your everything is followed, let's say you have written a good description on that, right description, you have explained your reason, or you, if there are screenshots required, you have made the screenshots, or if you have touched any you know uh, P0 file, let's say, okay, you have changed the manifest file or in the, so this helps the reviewer to review it better. Let's say there is some critical file and the contributor has changed that, right, and and if we get that automation job and can point out, right, like they have done in a critical file, please take care of that, so reviewer can be more focused on that to see exactly what is done in the critical file. That is one. Second, obviously, the test cases which I mentioned. That. So in the test cases, if your all checks are passing, so your reviewer doesn't have to do that. Yeah, he'll understand like these are passed, so that is working correctly. He can just focus on the logic what is written there, or the coding standard or whatever he can be there. So that reduces the review time a lot. And also with these CI/CD pipelines, only not for reviewers and all, but when you're in an organization, right? You after your testing, a tester will test it, right? Which is a QA, right? They will test your feature or code. So you don't have to, build. And so I'll tell you, APK builds faster, but for iOS it takes around 30 minutes to build, to give generate a build and give to a tester. Okay, so that is a lot of time for a developer to do that. So to optimize that, again, we should build CI/CD pipelines. There is a job setup should be there. We can just pass, let's say, branch name, and that job will make that build and will share with the QA. So here the 30 minutes is more focused on doing code development. So all these uh, automated things will help you in a long way, and your team. Cool. So yeah, I think I reached the end of the slide and end of my time also. Okay, I spoke a lot, I think. So any questions? I
So
hope you understand, like maybe like if say 50% of that also, it will be very good for me.
Thank you so much. So it was a
Yeah.
very nice session. I would like to ask you if you could share some resources about iOS where people can learn iOS development if they are beginners, because most of the folks we have here at NIT, they are interested in Android development, so they might be willing to explore the iOS and that as well.
Yeah, so I'll share you after our call. So firstly,
Sure, sure.
Ray Wendlich, if you might have heard of. So you can see their website. So everything is there. But I'll tell you, you can read a lot of things. Okay. So
Okay.
there will be a lot of stuffs for being development, right? But I feel is, let's say you take one example, like I want to build something. Let's say there is that weather app is very common, right? You are hitting one API and getting the weather information and displaying. So you take that, you start the iOS development. Okay. Then see how to create your first project, right? So you start that, your hello world project is completed. Now next thing is, in your weather object you want to fetch data from a server, or let's say you want to load make a UI. Then you search on Google AI how to make that UI, how to make UI in iOS. You get that, right? You make a list view in your iOS. Then you see like I want to fetch the data from server. So Google it, right? What, how I can do an API call. So then you do. So with this one, right, you will keep on learning more, because I feel is there is lot of information on internet, right? A lot of things to consume. So I'll share one structured way also, but in this way also you can learn faster also, because while building only you keep learning, how to do this, so you can better understand also on that.
Okay, okay. So, guys, are there any questions? You can unmute yourself and ask.
Uh, Good morning, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Like in iOS development, like should we start with the Swift UI or should we go with the storyboard?
uh so Swift, so let's say mm, right now what is there, right, in India, right, because we don't have that much OS adoptions. Let's say the Swift UI is only available after 14, right? So in a lot of companies we are still using Swift only, which is the UI kit, right, which you mentioned through storyboard and other things. So
Yes.
Swift, so I'll say like it is same internally, it works the same, but yeah, obviously the syntax and all is different. So I'll say like you can make Swift UI for your own, but you should also have UI kit one. So because when you go into organizations, and for sure, right now very few companies will be using Swift UI as their
Mhm.
primary code base in there. You can work on Swift UI and few projects, and then later on move
Oh, so
to
right now I can start with
building UI
Swift
kit.
UI.
Yeah. So you can see the process also, right? The whole app development process that will remain same. Building, like how do you fetch the data and make that remains same. At the end, it's only the syntax which you can even learn when you move to organization, that also works.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
like we had developers which, well, we had some interns which, didn't have the UI kit knowledge, but they had built Swift UI, projects. So, but it is very easy to get on, like, have them onboarded also to our code bases also. There's just a different language. That's not an issue.
Okay, okay. Thank you so
But have one app, at least one app in UI kit, so you understand how build the components. Rest you can do in Swift UI also.
much. Okay.
Hello,
So,
sir.
yeah, hi, Kunal.
So, sir, I'm a web developer and I know React and I wanted to get into mobile development. So, I have tried React Native. So, should
Hmm.
I continue with that or should I move to like the native development?
Uh, I'll suggest you try React Native only because you are already proficient in web, right?
Mhm.
So there are a lot of hybrid apps also, and you can build React Native components also in your main app. So I will say that that works faster on that way.
Okay.
Again, I said right, it is at the end like there's little bit language barrier is there that can be understand with time also. But your app development at the base will remain same, right? Here, how to build an iOS app or Android app, right? Through React Native. That is also a process you will learn, right? So that will remain same if I'm doing in native or that.
Okay. Thank you.
Again, also that depends upon you also how you, if you want to have your career purely in app, right? Then you can switch to native. But if you want is a kind of hybrid web and I want to, my next opportunities as uh, web also and mobile, then have in React Native. No need to learn too many things. Then you can build apps in React Native only.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Are there any more questions, audience? Shall we move forward?
And you can also hit me also as on LinkedIn if you have any further questions.
Sure. We'll share your details with the students. So basically, as we all know, sir would be judging the Hackmol 3.0 also. So we have already collected the ideation phase PPTs and we have shortlisted the teams for the prototype phase. So today we'll be declaring the timelines for the prototype phase soon on Discord. So yeah, sir, do you want to suggest our folks here like some things they should keep in mind for the prototype phase and declare it open?
So I'll say, man, I was very excited to part of this right hackathon and this process. This is the first time, you know, I was on the other side. Now I am on the opposite side. So I'm very excited to be part of. I'm looking forward to, the guys will be making a lot of great features or things in this hackathon. So yeah, just keep the points which I mentioned, right? Small, say error handlings or edge cases, you know, or if you're making web apps also, your how your UI looks and all this thing, and then if you're building anything, right? So okay, it is a prototyping phase, right? We'll start with small things, see one use case is working, then keep on iterating on top of it. So that how you in hackathon you build it faster.
Okay, then thank you so much, sir, for joining us, and we would be looking forward for great projects, not only from mobile development but from web
Yeah.
development and other domains also in this hackathon. So let's just kickstart it and start building your prototypes. We would release the timeline soon on Discord and all the announcement channels, and then we are good to go. Thank you so much.
All the best, guys.
All the best, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye bye.